Hello, viewer. My name is Rihanna, and I'm the author of The Blacksmith and the Dragonfly. I recently created a Facebook page to get in touch with the community and to showcase some of my ideas. There were some questions on my boosted post that I would like to address. There was curiosity about my race and my motive for wanting to create stories for African and mixed race boys and girls. Personally, I have been writing since I was in primary school. I absolutely love cartoons, mystical creatures, and magical worlds. I'm writing every week, if not every day. And growing up, I've always had African and mixed race friends who share these same interests. But as I grew older, I began to notice more and more that there was a serious lack of content for African and mixed race girls and boys. They were heavily underrepresented in stories, movies, and toys. It is a fact that there are many great African authors and directors, and I am in no way entitled to your support, but I would like to share key points of my life that inspired me to want to create content for African and mixed race boys and girls. These are truly painful stories, and I honestly wish that the reality could have been different. I was in my teenage years when I learned about the doll experiment. It drives me to tears every time I watch it. If you do not know what the doll experiment is, I'll add a link in the description below. In brief, it's an experiment where they took two dolls that were identical, one white and one African. They presented the two dolls to one child at a time and would ask the child to pick out the good doll or the pretty doll. Most of the children, regardless of the race, would pick out the white doll. This highlights a critical issue in our society. There's an abundance of content, toys, movies, stories for white children. African and mixed race children grow up with these stories, and they create a perception of beauty that does not come from the absolute gorgeous and natural features of the African and mixed race people. Years later, I was in Cape Town to listen to a speech given by Malna Bryan, an African model. Every word she spoke touched me. It was heartbreaking to hear her say that she was upset for so many of the times they straightened her hair to hide her natural African hair so that she could look beautiful. It was such a big issue to her that she created her own brand of African dolls called Malawil dolls, so that young African girls could have dolls that represented them, dolls with natural African skin tones and natural African hairstyles. In 2009, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie presented a speech at TED Global called The Danger of the Single Story. She highlights problems caused by not having enough inclusive content for all races. The lack of inclusive content creates prejudice and unrealistic stereotypes. The link to her speech is in the description. For me, inclusive content is not a story or a movie with one African character or one mixed race character. For me, inclusive content is having a bookshelf where there's such a great variety of stories representing all cultures so that the little child standing before it can pick the story that is their favorite and not just a story that is there. For me, I find it painful to see African or mixed race children playing in t-shirts with white cartoon characters simply because there isn't a character to represent them. For me, I don't ever again want to be standing behind an African mother in front of a shelf of purely white dolls, having one in each hand, staring up at the non-existing wide variety, wondering which is the best one to take home for her little girl for her birthday. I want to address female leadership by creating strong female characters. I want to represent all African and mixed race cultures with these short stories because each one is unique and different and we can learn so much from one another. I want these stories to pique the interest of the reader so that they can further to research the represented culture. I dream of a world where the African, the white, and the mixed race child can sit together at school lunch, where they can have sleepovers, watch movies, read stories, and play with dolls that represent themselves. I dream of a world where there's no more fear for one another based on culture, so that the children could have learned in a young age respect and understanding for the cultures surrounding them. It is true that I am not African and that I do not understand all the cultures. It is true that this is a painful topic, but I feel that it is my duty to use my gift of creativity to aid in this fight, if you would let me. I sat beside Joshua, one of my mixed race friends, in 2017. I told him about my idea and vision to create stories for African girls and boys. I told him I had so many ideas that I could represent all of the African cultures in South Africa. He turned to me and asked, "What about me? What about my culture?" And that is when I realized that this issue is so much deeper than I could ever have imagined. I've created a poll on the Facebook page for Euros to inspire African and mixed race girls and boys, because I know that this is a sensitive topic. I ask you, viewer, to give me your honest opinion. Is it okay for someone like me to be writing stories for African and mixed race boys and girls? The link to the poll is in the description below. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you will allow me to walk this journey with you. Thank you.